Crystal Palace have made it 2 trips to Wembley and 2 trophies won as they've defeated Liverpool in the Community Shield on penalties after drawing the game 2-2 in regular time. And I just got back from the game, man. I just got back from Wembley. What an experience. Me and the SDS boys were invited by TNT to check out the game. It was a sick time, and it's actually gonna be a match vlog on my channel tomorrow. A lot of you guys have been asking for match vlogs, for IRL content to be a feature on the channel. So this is gonna be the first time. Let me know tomorrow what you guys think of it, and stay subscribed to make sure you don't miss it. And also, get us to 80K, man. We're almost there. But let's talk about this game, because I can't lie, guys. This was an absolutely fascinating encounter. Because this was not the script. This was not part of the script. Liverpool come into this season as overwhelming favorites for the Premier League. They've had a ridiculous transfer window. It doesn't appear to be anywhere near over as they continue to pursue Alexander Isak and Marc Guehi. But it's actually to Marc Guehi's team that they've lost to today. And look, I don't want to say Liverpool were bad. I think there were actually patches of this game where Liverpool looked quite impressive, to be honest with you, right? In the first half in particular, the first 5 minutes, they looked irresistible. Ekitike took his goal incredibly well. We'll speak a little bit about Ekitike, right? But they looked good there. Yes, they equalized shortly after Palace, but then they got their foot back in the game. Liverpool went into the second half 2-1 up, and they were cruising. Honestly, Kerekes was making these crazy good inverted runs that quite clearly Palace couldn't live with, because then it left a man out wide very open, and they were really popping it around Palace. And in the second half as well too, I thought Liverpool started where they left off, because the first 10 minutes of the second half was all Liverpool. Ekitike had a huge chance to put this game out of sight in the second half, then had another chance, and Liverpool just looked like they were on the up and the up and the up. And then something happened, right? I think Liverpool got very complacent very quickly. I don't want to take any credit away from Palace, because they had to capitalize on that, but Liverpool allowed Palace a way back into this game simply by just being lazy on the ball. How many times today did we see Szoboszlai or Curtis Jones or Gakpo just honestly sit on the ball maybe a second longer than they should have, or just really show a lack of urgency that previously was quite clearly evident on display before that? They allowed Palace just a way back into the game, and the more Palace seemed to win the ball off them and win the ball into these dangerous positions and then start playing guys in transition, the Palace crowd just continued to get louder and louder. And this is the first game I've watched Palace live, right? This is the first time I've been to any kind of Palace environment. Their fans are incredible. Their fans are ridiculous. And the minute these guys start kind of getting into the game, it's like a 12th man for them, especially the way Palace play. They feed off emotion. Every single time they get a set piece, you see Mateta boosting up the crowd. So I felt that the minute Liverpool almost started to take their foot off the pedal and Palace started to capitalize on it, the game was only kind of heading one way. And it was just a matter of whether Palace could take advantage or not. And they had chances. At one point, it looked like they were starting to squander them. They had a few open headers. And then Ismaila Sarr was the guy to kind of punish Liverpool, ultimately sending the game to penalties, where we know what kind of happened. But if I'm going to speak about a few players, right? Liverpool, let's talk about them first and foremost. The players I was the most impressed with have to be Ekitike and Wirtz. Those two together have already showed such a brilliant understanding of one another. And it's what I always say. I think it's very easy for great players to play with other great players, because it almost feels like they just understand each other so well. They understand each other's movements. They understand how each wants the ball received to them. They know where the other is without even having to look. There were so many nice little flicks and 1-2s between the two of them. And Wirtz in general, right, is a player that has a real pass appreciation. He knows every single pass that every teammate needs. So for some players, they need to receive a certain pass in front of them in their stride. For some players, they need to receive to their back foot. And another thing I like about Wirtz is he isn't afraid to just give it and immediately receive it. Give it and immediately receive it. It just gets the team flowing. Wirtz is such a wonderfully gifted player like that. And I don't want to say he had his best game today. I definitely think there's more to come from Wirtz, but I think it immediately showed today what he's capable of. And then Ekitike, to grab his first goal within the first 5 minutes, and the way, again, he took his goal, receiving it, beating one, and then calmly just passing it a la Thierry Henry into the bottom corner, really showcases the kind of caliber of striker that Liverpool have on their hands. And it almost makes me think, my goodness, adding Isak to this team when you have Ekitike up front is just so greedy. Wow. So many teams would love to have one striker like Ekitike. And these guys are trying to add a player like Isak on top of that. Ekitike today was incredible. There were so many moments in this game where stuck in an alleyway or stuck in a corridor where it almost seems impossible for him to get out of, he has these nimble, quick feet that seem to get him out of any type of situation possible. He probably should have left this game with more than one goal. I think in the second half in particular, he had one chance right at the start that header. On first glance, it looks like he has to score that. Maybe if I watch it back, it looks a little more difficult. But from where I was sitting, it looked like he had to finish that. But Ekitike, I think, overall, had a very, very good game today. And if we're actually being honest as well, too, Liverpool taking him off and putting Salah and Gakpo up front together almost, it weakened Liverpool. Because Ekitike is a guy that can give the ball to and he makes it stick. Ekitike is a guy that you can pump the ball long to and he can chase it down. He can run channels. He can occupy defenders. The minute you took that option away from Liverpool, all of a sudden that was just another way Palace could nullify them. So Ekitike and Wirtz, more to come for sure, but I think you immediately saw today that there's a blossoming chemistry between the two of them. I really look forward to seeing what those two can become as a duo going forward. If I'm looking at players that I wasn't impressed by today, Salah, I mean, that doesn't even need to be explained. And with Salah, right, it's so weird. He's such a good player, like a ridiculous player. But his bad games, it never seems to just be like a bad game. It's like he either plays really well, or he scores, or he assists, or it's just the worst game you'll ever see in your life. Today, Salah was honestly on the outside looking in nearly the entire game. And then he steps up for his penalty and takes the worst penalty you will ever see. And it's like, why can't Salah just have like an average game? Why does it either have to be like he wows you to bits or he just drops the worst disaster class of the season? That game, Salah had little to no impact whatsoever. He couldn't get into the game whatsoever. He couldn't beat his man. He couldn't create chances. He got one shot on goal really towards the end that went straight at Dean Henderson. And then the penalty on top of it is just like a disaster. It's not even like a regular penalty miss. You know what I'm saying? It's not like just a normal penalty miss. He sends it into Rosette. There's a poor bystander walking the streets of Wembley today. Probably just got struck in the head with that ball. So Salah, the less said, the better. That was terrible. And if I'm being honest as well, too, I think the left-hand side of Kerkez and Gakpo wasn't great in terms of how they dealt with Crystal Palace's threat. Because the player that really killed Liverpool today, in my opinion, was Ismaila Sarr. Even before he scored the goal, I would have said that. Because this guy's threat in transition, his running in behind, caused so many issues for Liverpool. Even when Van Dijk managed to deal with it, right? The minute Sarr kind of gets on his bike and starts running, Liverpool's defense is at 6s and 7s. Van Dijk's having to kind of run into place to cover for Kerkez, or Gakpo is going to have to drop deep because Kerkez was out of position. And I did feel like most of the threat was coming from Sarr's side. And it is because he's a player that doesn't need the ball to feet. He's not a player that's really going to... Oh, he can run at you, of course. He won the penalty doing so. But that threat in behind... So many defenders often state the hardest thing for them is having to defend players who are going that way, not players who are in front of them. When you're in front of them, you can see everything. But what's happening behind you, all of a sudden you're backpedaling, you're having to run in behind. And Sarr is such a threat in that. And I'm really happy to see this growth in Sarr's game, because I think we all saw him at Watford a few seasons back and knew that there was talent to him. And the fact that it's finally clicking now is a little surprising, because I think he should have left Watford a while back before he did. But it is as well really, really nice to see, because there is quite clearly a talent there. But I want to say Kerkez and Gakpo, right? There were some good moments going forward. Again, I like how Kerkez was inverting so many times, allowing Szoboszlai and Gakpo to kind of create that advantage out wide. But defensively, I think that's a side of the game that the two of them are going to have to work on a whole lot more, because more often than not, Kerkez seemed to be out of position, and you would need Gakpo chasing Munoz, who was the other guy who had so much space down that right-hand side. I think if I have to look at matchups this game, Munoz and Sarr won their matchup against Kerkez and Gakpo. I think that's a big one. Frimpong was decent. I think he was pretty good. The goal, I'm not going to give him too much credit for, because I think it's a fluked cross. But overall, I think pretty good. Jones and Szoboszlai were decent. I think Gravenberch and McAllister is an immediate upgrade on the two of them in those deeper positions. One thing that's interesting, and I saw some people talk about it on social media, is Szoboszlai taking him away from the number 10 position because Wirtz is here now. And Wirtz is a much better player than Szoboszlai in terms of creating chances, tight areas, passing. I think he's a better footballer than Szoboszlai, right? But Szoboszlai was so integral to the forward press, the front press from Liverpool last season, that removing him from that area does kind of impact Liverpool in the defensive side of the game. Szoboszlai has to play. His legs are integral to this team, but they're also integral the higher up the pitch you go. And I do think that's going to be, again, something that Slot is going to have to manage this season. How does he accommodate for these new players? Because yes, they add a different dimension positively from an attacking point of view, but they also now change your defensive makeup. And as a manager, you're going to have to accommodate for that. So Liverpool, I think we're good for large parts of the game, but ultimately the biggest thing I kind of bring it down to is a lack of urgency towards the second half. I really think they took their foot off the gas, and Palace more than capitalized. And this is where I want to give a lot of credit to Palace, because it's all good and well saying, oh, Liverpool, they stopped trying, or I don't want to say they stopped trying, but like clearly the effort levels kind of went down a little, but some team has to take advantage of it, and Palace were the team to do it. Players that impressed me, Sarr for me is man of the match. Incredible performance today. But I want to give a shout out to the midfield too. Obviously it was Wharton and Kamada that started the game. Kamada came off after like 20 minutes, and Will Hughes came on. And Will Hughes for me was really, really good. I think he was good last season as well too, but he's a player that I often feel kind of goes under the radar. Obviously coming up through the ranks, he was seen as a wonder kid in England at Derby, right? But since then, I think he's kind of been a player that kind of coasts under everyone's radar. But when you actually watch him, guys, this is a really good midfielder. And today, he had such a bite to his tackles, the way he won the ball back, the way he kind of avoided the likes of Soboslai. Like, every time he kind of receives the ball, you think Soboslai is going to be at his ankles, and Will Hughes is avoiding him, playing some really nice passes as well, too. Had a few shots. I thought Will Hughes was impressive. And then Adam Wharton, the jewel of the crown, of course, I thought started the game a little slowly. I wasn't too impressed in the first half. I think the game did pass him by a bit. But again, as the game kind of progressively edged more into Palace's favor, a large reason for that was because, again, Wharton and Hughes were starting to get on the ball more. They were starting to win the ball off Soboslai and Jones a little bit more, and they were starting to dictate the game a little more. And Wharton clearly has one thought in his mind at times, right? Get the ball, look up, where's Sarr, run in behind. Or get the ball, play it into Mateta's feet. Mateta lays it off to Eze. Eze over the top to Sarr. There you go. Palace are so good at turning defense into attack just like that, in terms of creating these overloads on one side of the pitch and then sending a runner through, whether it's Munoz and Sarr. They're so good at that, right? Mateta, again, just a tireless performance from one of the most selfless strikers in the league. The amount of like effort he exudes kind of holding up the ball against the league's biggest center backs, right? Having to play against Van Dijk and Konate and playing the way he does is not easy, and he does such a good job of it, and he makes it look so effortless at times. And then Eze, right? What a brilliant player. What a brilliant player. I want to see him stay at Palace the rest of his career. I truly do. But also at the same time, with all due respect to Crystal Palace, I think he's too good for you guys. I genuinely think Eze is a Champions League level player. He's a player that should be playing in the biggest games of the season every year, because there's such a class to Eze that it's so evident the second he gets the ball. Even the way he receives the ball, even the way he'll flick a ball. He has such an aura, a swagger to him that maybe, some might argue, maybe it suits being the big fish in a small pond, but I think a player of Eze's quality warrants a bigger platform, a bigger stage to kind of showcase it. This is a guy that would play at Arsenal. I think he would shine at Arsenal. I think he'd shine at Spurs. I think he'd shine at Man United. He would have shined in one of those attacking midfield positions. The guy is so good. Seriously, so good. I know he missed his penalty today, but I'm a big Eberechi Eze fan. And then Dean Henderson. Wow, this keeper, man. This keeper. I'll never forget the day that we had this guy on the bench in a Europa League final, and we let David De Gea go into the penalty shootout. And he failed to save every single one of them and then missed his. Dean Henderson, a man for the big occasions and a man with big cojones, man. Seriously, he is not afraid of anything. He's not afraid of the best players. He's not afraid of the biggest moments. And he, again, in the biggest moment yet for Palace, stood on his head. Huge performance, especially in the penalty shootout. Dean Henderson, man, what a character. What a character. And of course, shout out to Oliver Glasner. But Liverpool, the bigger question here, is this a blip or is this just a sign of things to come? Well, ultimately, that encapsulates the conversation about the Community Shield in general. Is it a trophy or is it just a glorified preseason game? I think it all depends on if you win or lose. If you win, this game means everything. It's the first chance to win silverware. It's a way of starting the season on the right foot. But if you lose, it's just a preseason game. It's a glorified preseason game. Do I think Liverpool are in trouble? No. Do I think they still need to make a few additions? Yes, even though I do think Isak is crazy greed. But will they be okay? Yes. I still have them winning the league until further notice, until I see something that deeply concerns me. If Salah's going to play like this 5 games of the season, maybe we can talk. Until then, I'm not buying it. But guys, that's going to be it from me. As I said, I made a match vlog on this, so I actually included more of my thoughts and opinions in tomorrow's video. Make sure you guys stay around for that. Make sure you subscribe, like, share, and leave all your comments down below about how you thought the game went. Let me know what you guys thought about Liverpool. Is this just a blip, or is it maybe a sign of things to come? And Crystal Palace, how impressed were you guys with them? That being said, it's been your boy Lyes. I'm so excited, guys, that the season is back. That means more content for you guys, more match reactions, and more videos in general. Make sure you stay tuned with all of them, and I'll see you guys very soon. Peace.